Donkey Kong Bananza blasted its way onto the gaming scene, being the first 3D Donkey Kong game in over 25 years to be at our fingertips, and shocking the gaming universe by becoming the highest rated Donkey Kong game, reaching a 91 on Metacritic. The last DK game to have this high of a score was Donkey Kong 64 in 1999. Now, for those who've been following our channel know, we've been pretty outspoken about wanting a new 3D Donkey Kong game, and we've been waiting and waiting and waiting for this moment. So you know, when this game dropped, it had our attention and we were diving in. But after countless hours of collecting bananas, singing tunes, and breaking stuff, I'm ready to give you the truth. Nintendo cooked. What makes Donkey Kong Bananza so good? Has Donkey Kong Bananza opened the door for a new star or stars to be showcased in the Nintendo universe not named Mario or Link? This is Frank from Marsman Gaming, and in this video, I'll answer those questions. Let's sing our way right into this. First, I want to discuss my experience with the game, and quite frankly, starting with my uncertainty leading up to its release. Donkey Kong Bananza kinda came out of nowhere. It was first announced at the April 2025 Nintendo Direct, when many gamers, including myself, with the Nintendo Switch 2 on the horizon, was expecting to see a new 3D Mario game, since we haven't seen one in 8 years. But what's this? Not only was Mario not shown, but DK is getting a 3D platformer and it's releasing 3 months later? As mentioned earlier, we have not seen a 3D DK platformer since 1999 when Rare made Donkey Kong 64. It was a vastly different time back then. I was just a wee lad, first developing my skills as an alpha gamer. Platformers were king in the gaming market. Fortnite emoting and cringe Call of Duty crossovers never existed, and Rare actually made games outside of Sea of Thieves. Most of the younger audience probably didn't even know a 3D Donkey Kong game existed before this one, so I was a bit skeptical when the game was first announced and wondered what kind of effort or depth would be put into this title, since the main character is not Mario or Link. But the more I played this game, the more I was surprised. So what made Donkey Kong Bananza so good? Well, first things first, there's a lot to do in this game. As you travel through the 17 main levels, or in this game called layers, you are given the main objective of collecting bananas or banandium gems as you fight the main bad guys and his lackeys. I will try and stay away from discussing characters and the plot, but overall, the story is not super in-depth. However, the personalities between the protagonist and the antagonist is goofy and charming. The layers, or levels, are vibrant, have variety, and there are well over 700 banana gems to collect by completing objectives, fighting enemies, discovering secrets, or solving puzzles. It's not just a linear platformer that forces you to go from location A to B, which isn't always a bad thing, but they created a sandbox for you to explore. This game takes on average of 17 hours to beat the main story, and over 25 hours if you're including the side content. Completing the main content is on average longer than Mario Odyssey, Mario Galaxy, Mario Galaxy 2, and even more than recent platformers in Game of the Year winner Astro Bot, and this year's Split Fiction, which I truly believe is a legit Game of the Year contender for 2025. Now, the length of the game doesn't always equal a good game. It's all about the gameplay loop, which leads me to the real star of the show. But before we continue with the video, if you like this type of content, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe to support the channel. And consider becoming a member of the channel for some premium perks on future content. Now let's get back to the video. Let me ask you a quick question. When you think of a good platformer, what do you think of? Yes, there'll be some timely jumping, some currency you need to collect, and some sort of power-ups that assist you on your journey, which Donkey Kong Bananza does. But what truly makes a platformer separate itself from the pack is its gimmick. This gimmick has to be unique, but also make the gameplay loop not feel like a repetitive slogfest. I have seen plenty of folks comparing Donkey Kong Bananza to its last 3D platformer in Donkey Kong 64 and Mario Odyssey, which is pretty high praise. And if you look back at those games, they had their own unique gimmick. Donkey Kong 64's gimmick was focusing its gameplay on the various different Kongs you can choose from, each with its own unique weapons and skill set. You had to change in between these different Kongs depending on what obstacle the level gave you. Mario Odyssey had Mario's hat that allowed Mario to take control of objects and characters, which gave you different abilities outside your normal platforming functions. For all the great platformers of their times, you could find a gimmick where it's a specific game function, or level designs, or a mixture of both that they excel at. Donkey Kong Bananza's gimmick is destruction. The game focuses on DK's ability to destroy the environment with his fists. You can break through walls, dig underground, blast through the ceiling. Hell, you can rip parts of the environment and use it as a weapon, or use it as a surfboard to ride across the level. The levels are also well designed with different destructive characteristics, where some surfaces are tougher like stone or rock that can be used for certain situations where you need a weapon or to surf, versus other environments like mud that can be used for situations like building a platform. It's not a perfect system, but the level design and gameplay loop complement each other pretty well and has enough depth to keep the gameplay fresh. It's like you're Wreck-It Ralph or a watered-down Hulk, and it's quite satisfying. I would spend hours just destroying the environment, and it just felt good. Maybe that's why people like rage rooms, or maybe I'm a sicko, but I digress. There also isn't a ton of games that does this kind of destructive environments, or at least to this level. In my gaming experience, two games which are very different games overall from Donkey Kong Bananza come to mind when thinking of its unique environment destruction as a gimmick in their genre. The Battlefield series became one of the most popular FPS franchises before it crapped itself with 2042, due to not only its fun gunplay and large-scale battles, but the destructive environments, like buildings collapsing, terrains changing from gunfire, that made the experience feel like you were in a real war, and a very underrated component to its gameplay loop. When I was younger, I played a series called Rampage, which was a very simple arcade game about controlling a large monster that destroys cities, wreaks havoc to humanity, and the more you destroyed, the more points you got. Looking back, it really wasn't that good of a series, but something about destroying buildings, launching tanks, punching helicopters, powering up was just cool for my childlike brain. The point is, Donkey Kong Bananza takes a gimmick that not a ton of games have fully utilized, made it a focal point, and designed levels that challenge you not just on a horizontal level, but vertically, and gives you objectives that complement it well and is the star to this platformer. What was your favorite part of Donkey Kong Bananza? Let us know what you think in the comments below. I would also like to add that not everything was smooth sailing for Donkey Kong Bananza, as it does have its warts. The camera can be pretty painful, especially when digging. It zooms into DK at times for no reason, or shifts in a direction that makes no sense, impeding your vision kinda consistently. It can be pretty damn nauseating, and it reminds me of the old Legend of Zelda or Mario 64 camera angles. And the camera might be the most difficult adversary you come across while playing this game, because this game is pretty damn easy. I know. I can already hear some trolls in the comments mauling that this game is made for the quote-unquote younger audience, and no, I was not expecting this game to make me sweat like a From Software game. But the game gives you two modes, normal and easy. But in reality, it's easy and Baby Gerber mode. And like I have said in previous reviewed Nintendo games, if you're going to take the time to make an easy mode, why can't you give some love to your veteran players with the hard mode? Whether it makes the enemies pack a harder punch, or limits the health you find, or the hearts you can upgrade, or limits the items you can carry, something. Also, even though I did like at times they gave you some secret missions or puzzles that referenced some older 2D side-scrolling Donkey Kong games, now without spoiling too much, you'll also see some Kongs from other games here, but I mean barely see them. Man, I wish that they had some more references to Donkey Kong 64 or incorporated the other Kongs more. But overall, I will say, I had a pretty damn fun experience playing Donkey Kong Bananza. Now before we reach the end of the video, I want to discuss how Donkey Kong Bananza's release can not only affect the DK franchise going forward, but potentially open the door for some new stars to step up on the Nintendo stage. I mean, we have to be honest here. When you think of Nintendo, what do you think of? It's the dynamic duo of Mario and Link. They are the big sellers for Nintendo outside Pokemon, and their games get the most resources, and for good reason. So I don't think people realize the kind of accomplishment this game is for Nintendo, at least from a critical reception standpoint. Now we will see how well Donkey Kong Bananza sells over the coming months, which is the most important thing to Nintendo, being a greedy corporation. But as I mentioned earlier, Donkey Kong Bananza is the first DK game to have a 90+ rating on Metacritic since Donkey Kong 64 in 1999. This is also the highest rated non-Mario and Link focused game since 2013's Fire Emblem Awakening, and before that, you have to go to Metroid Prime 2 in 2004. Now I'll just say it hasn't been because there's been a shortage of Donkey Kong games. Since 1999, there have been 13 mainline DK games and over 20 games if you include games where Donkey Kong has been involved as a supplemental character. And these are a wide array of games, from 2D platformers, puzzle games, hell, even rhythm games. Yes, who can't forget that pain in the ass Donkey Konga games that made you want to slam your head into a wall. Now not all these games were trash, some were pretty solid, but for the most part, they are kind of forgettable. One thing they all had in common though, is they never really felt like a AAA level budgeted or scoped game. It has really felt over the years that Donkey Kong has kind of been moved to the back of the bus, where he is subjugated to smaller scoped games and gimmicky appearances. I mean, at one point Donkey Kong was removed as being a playable character in Mario Party, but the tides have slowly been changing. DK became one of the main characters with the new design in the Mario Bros movie. He got his own part of the park at Universal Studios. Get the hell out of here, Luigi. And now came Donkey Kong Bananza, with immense pressure to deliver. The Switch 2 came out just a couple months ago and didn't really have any quote-unquote new games outside Mario Kart World. The lineup has been filled with a bunch of enhanced version games from the Switch, so this new DK game was going to get major spotlight and pressure to perform, and well, they did. Kenta Motakura was the lead producer and developer for Donkey Kong Bananza, along with various members of Nintendo EPD Production Group Number 8, which sounds like an anime villain squad, but this is the group that worked on Mario Odyssey. And if you played both games, you can see some major foundational similarities. But what was surprising was that many believed, like myself, that this group was working on the next 3D Mario game, which still could be the case. But obviously, the focus was on Donkey Kong Bananza's development with Nintendo's blessing, and I actually think it's a good thing. Now hold on. Don't get out your pitchforks just yet. I'm not saying that they should sideline Mario, but Nintendo assembling talented teams and taking chances on other characters outside Mario and Link is necessary, and they should do it more often. I believe we have seen signs of this move from Nintendo, with Peach getting her own game, Zelda getting her own game recently, and now this. As many gamers know by now, development cycles for games are getting longer and more expensive. The days of seeing a new game in 2 to 3 years is long gone, and they've now become almost 6 to 8 years in development for a new game, especially for the larger scale ones. And the turnover rate amongst development teams continues to go in the wrong direction. Nintendo has been pretty good at retaining their developers, but even they can't escape these development cycles. It has been 8 years since we have seen the last 3D Mario game, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom came out in 2023, so you know we ain't seeing that next installment for a while. If Nintendo wants to sell the Switch 2 anywhere close to the original Switch, it will require some of the rest of the Nintendo character roster to step up in a big way. This doesn't mean that all the characters need a AAA budget game, or that it's time for Link or Mario to hit the retirement home. But assembling some talented teams and taking some big swings with some other Nintendo characters can go a long way to supplement the time between the next Mario and Link game. Donkey Kong Bananza proved that it was really dumb to wait 25 years for another 3D platforming DK game, and now I want another one ASAP. I wonder what other characters could benefit from these chances. When I look at Nintendo, I see a dynamic duo as the face of the company in Mario and Link, but with Donkey Kong Bananza, I think a new star has arrived in DK and should get a seat at the adult table. Thank you everyone for watching. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe to help support the channel, and hit that notification button to know when future content drops. Also check out our latest video in the end screen. This is Frank from Marsman Gaming signing off. Game on.